Assalamualaikum. My name is KHAIRUNNISA binti JAAFAR, metric number 277731. After looking at and reviewing the issue of the strike, I am of the opinion that this issue labor strike in Malaysia are a complex issue, requiring careful examination of empirical data and ethical principles. There are differing perspectives on endorsing strike for worker rights, with some supporting the approach and others expressing concern about its impact on economic activity and businesses. To make a moral judgment, it is crucial to consider the reason behind the strike, their effect on workers and businesses, and the legal context in Malaysia. Ethical principles such as fairness, neutrality, and unity should also be taken into account. Strike can be effective in improving working conditions and wages, but opponents may argue that they can negatively affect the economy and infringe upon the rights of corporations and individuals. Ultimately, the decision to support or object to labor strike is an ethical one that requires a true evaluation of both empirical evidence and ethical principles. In the case of doctors striking during the COVID-19 pandemic in Malaysia, the moral judgment depends on the ethical theory applied and the specific circumstances. The strike may be morally justifiable for various ethical perspectives, as doctors continued to provide essential service during the strike. It is essential to base any moral judgment on complete, up-to-date and accurate information and sound ethical principles. In conclusion, deciding whether to support or oppose labor strike in Malaysia requires a true evaluation of empirical evidence and ethical principles, allowing individuals to make informed and morally sound decisions that benefit both workers and the broader community.
Good day, doctor and everyone. My name is Teng Sook and with metric number 2723. Based on my opinion, I would like to support to this issue, which is strict ethics. Based on the United Nations 2017, the European United and the United Nations both consider the right to strike as a fundamental human right. In Malaysia, it also recognized individual or collective right to industry disputed. Under the same Act Law of Malaysia 2017, not less than 2/3 of the affected employees must work in private. Only individual who has registered in advance with the Trade United Director General are legally permitted to take part in a strike. The employer must then be informed of the strike date after that. However, if the strike is legally, there will be a fine or jail time as a result. Before the strike begins, if the minister brings the matter to the industry court, the strike is halved. The minister will only send a dispute involving a public sections unite to the industry tribunal with the Agong or the governor approval. According to Section 43 of the IRM, mandates that employer receive 42 days notice before any strike affecting critical service, such as healthcare. Able receipt of the notice, it is the responsibility of the employer to report the details to the Director General of Industry related so that a cooling off period can be allowed and appropriate actions taken. If the Director General permits and the strike is legalized, the employee will not be dismissed. Therefore, strike by contract medical staff in Malaysia are open and transparent. 8,000 government doctor contract plan to hold 3-day strike from 3 to 5 April. A social media account called Mogok Doctor Malaysia has also emerged. However, a systematic review of several strikes involving doctor reports that patient mortality rate remained the same or decreased during the period of industry actions. In addition, many doctors continue to provide regular service to patients despite the announced strike. This may be acceptable if the strike is not expected to cause harm to patients. It has been proposed that 3 conditions must be met for strike to be morally and ethically acceptable, which are strike should not cause disproportionate harm to patients, and the hospital should continue to provide at least as critical a service as emergency care. Then strike should only be used a last resort when all other options, such as suitable publicity, dissent, and even disobedience has been tried and failed. That's all for me, and I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Hi, I'm FADZILLA binti JAINAL with matrix number 278008. So I'm going to explain about my moral judgment regarding this issue. I am of the opinion that this issue is a rare issue of concern and I support this issue of a strike. In my opinion, strikes are not wrong but are allowed based on the acts and laws preserved in order to obtain justice. In fact, there is a law allowing strikes recognized by the United Nations and the European Union (UN) as a human right. For example, essential service members such as doctors and teachers who wish to go on strike must issue notices to their employers 42 days before the strike, and this law is preserved under Section 43 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967. Besides, I think it's appropriate because the contract doctor strike that happened was because they wanted to get justice, as in terms of the difference in basic pay, the allocation of leaves that was different from their permanent colleagues. Contract doctors have no job guarantees while they have been tired of patients during the COVID 19 pandemic. Although they went on strike during the pandemic, it did not affect the death toll to increase. So, my opinion is supported by the moral theory of employees' rights, where there are three common types of employees' rights. And one of the types of rights of employees that can be attributed to this issue is the legal rights granted to the employee on the basis of legislation or judicial decisions. For example, equal opportunities to employees. Based on this theory, doctors who go on strike are inherently justified because they want to get their rights and opportunities as doctors contract equally with a permanent doctor in terms of the advantages that should be gained as a doctor. So, to conclude my moral judgment regarding this issue, the ethical theory associated with the issue of strike doctors, namely employees' rights, shows it is in favor of the state of the contract doctors to go on strike. Contract doctors should get an equal advantage with other permanent doctors, such as leave provisions and basic salary. In addition, the pandemic has seen about 50% of contract doctors struggle and work hard to help patients. Thus, the moral theory of employees' rights that states employees have a legal right to equal opportunities becomes a defensible moral principle for this issue. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nur Asmalan binti ANIZU. My matric number is 278662. I would like to talk about my moral judgment. The exact scenario and setting of a particular strike might influence strike etiquette. Workers can strike if they have solidarity with their co-workers, a dedication to unfair salaries and working conditions, and a desire for autonomy. This strike is not illegal in my opinion because it is authorized by the Act and the legislation. According to what I have seen, the strikers frequently want to raise attention to bigger social issues and push for institutional improvements. The values and goals of the individuals and organizations involved in a particular labor action also create strike ethics. Strike action is thus a possibility in this job to preserve each other's rights. For example, in Germany, there has been a strike issue involving airport personnel who went on strike in order to be awarded a salary increase, resulting in the cancellation and delay of hundreds of flights around the country. The union has also called for a strike in order to obtain higher pay for weekend and night work. as well as better overtime pay for its members. Similarly to Malaysia, there is a strike issue among doctors in Malaysia during the COVID-19 pandemic. The strike was launched in accordance with the established law, which states that unions that want to launch a strike must issue a notice to their employer 42 days before the strike. Do not launch a strike within 21 days of the notice, and do not launch a strike before the date specified in the notice expires. Section 43 of the Industrial Relations Act of 1967 states this provision. Furthermore, I believe that the Malaysian contract physician strike is justified since they seek justice for themselves. Strike can be viewed as a technique for workers to protect themselves and their co-workers from company exploitation. In this sense, it might be viewed as a protest against an unjust system. A strike can be viewed as an act of disobedience and disloyalty by the employer, resulting in the loss of profits and jobs. However, from a moral theory standpoint, I support the workers' strike because all workers in our country have equal rights and privilege under the law. As a result, based on my moral judgment in this matter, I will want to conclude that the doctors who went on strike are in accordance with a workers' right. Nonetheless, the strike decision should take into account the necessary ethical principles so that the rights that every worker should have can be heard and highlighted in order to gain greater change and be more dedicated to working towards a solution that benefits all concerned parties. That's all from me. Thank you.
My name is SYAKIRAH binti Safari and my number metric is 279210. For moral judgment section, I would like to say that after looking into the job strike ethic, I found that the workers has not made a mistake by going on strike. Every employee has a right to demand of their superiors to do the right thing. The right to take part into the strike as a protest against anything at worst has been recognized by both in United Nations and European Union as the one of the fundamental human rights. There are a number of problems and causes for the strike, so it is not simply done for fun. One of them comes from the factors of unhappiness with the way the job is divided, the pay and the leave and others benefit that could be different and not appropriate, and it could be different and not appropriate for the responsibility assigned. Additionally, job strike is one of the peaceful way to express emotion without getting into a lengthy agreement. This is clearly from the work by employees providing essential services such as doctors and nurses, who continue to fulfill their duties and provide excellent patient care in spite of internal problems with the hospital or government. As example, consider the Malaysian doctor strike and also contract doctor harta strike by contract doctors. They are not happy because they do not receive the same benefit and holidays as other government servants. This shows that they went a strike without getting into a violent fight. Okay, we can say that during the job strike, the patient can continue to receive the same care with contract doctor. We can see that contract doctors still do their job nicely. Workers strike during their breaks and also holidays is the reason why this strike is not violent of human rights. In a nutshell, I support this job strike is because it can bring a justice to employees who have performed the duties assigned in accordance with the job description. Strikes are allowed but have a specific procedure must be followed before it may be referred to as a legal strike. Otherwise, the strike would be referred to as an illegal strike. This illegal strike may result in discipline punishment, legal action and also financial penalties.
Hello and good evening. My name is MOHAMAD FIHMI bin FAIZ and my matric number is 289652, and I would like to talk about individual moral judgment. So for the Malaysia's Industrial Relations Act of 1967 authorized job strikes. The act governs strikes, lockouts and labour dispute resolution. Malaysian workers use strikes to complain and negotiate better wage, benefits and working conditions. Job strike in Malaysia may be morally justified depending on personal beliefs, societal norms and strike details. Proponents of job strike in Malaysia argue that there are a legitimate way for workers to demand equitable treatment. They regard strike as a way to improve working conditions, structural issues and employee livelihoods. Supporters may regard strikes as more moral disobedience against unjust or exploitative practices. I support this employment strike because it can help workers who did their jobs. Legal strike require a certain process, otherwise the strike is illegal. Disciplinary, legal or financial sanctions may result from this unlawful strike. That's all for me, thank you.